Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion, Will Blackman.
Manning from the end zone. He throws, and a deflect away, and it is picked off by Will Blackman, the former Giant.
Tim Dwight watches it hit, bounces, picks it up at the 10, slips a defender, fumbles the football, it's up for grabs, it's covered in the end zone by Will Blackman for a Green Bay touchdown!
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to the latest episode of Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of United WeCast Network. I'm Ric Bucher. You can see me on FS1. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can follow me on Twitter at Ric Bucher. He is Will Blackman, Super Bowl champ. You can see him on NFL Network. And you can follow him on Twitter at Will Blackman. He looked up just like, oh, you're talking to me? And we have Burton Chawla. I don't know if you want to follow him. I don't know. Yeah, actually, you do want to follow him because my man, Burton Chawla, we are recording this immediately after Virginia in overtime beats Texas Tech. What was the final score? But the bottom line is my man made a lot of cash. 85-77 was the final score. Burton, how does it feel?
Feels great. I think I gave you all my picks. I was, I put all my chips in the middle tonight.
You
right?
did.
Like this is what I felt. I was up 3,500 for the tournament. I put all 35 on the line tonight.
So tell us all the bets that you made, all the things that you had riding on this outcome.
So plus 35 for the tournament. So I put $3,000 money line Virginia, which would win me 2,400. And then I took the 500 and decided I don't love the over under, but I decided to parlay minus 1.5, Virginia minus 1.5. Mm-hmm. And I took the over, which most people thought I was crazy. It was 117.5 is what I had.
Yep.
The over looked good 4 minutes into that second half.
The under looked good 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, the under looked good 8 minutes into the game. Like that's just Texas Tech just couldn't get a basket.
Yep.
But I've been saying to you, Rick, for a while, both these teams, although they love to grind, they love to play defense, they initiate offense late. Both these teams have capable offensive players.
Yeah.
Like obviously Culver and Hunter are both going to play in the NBA. They're both going to be top 7, top 8 picks. Both are very offensively skilled. Guy, Jerome, Mooney, Moretti. Like these guys can score. It's just the style that they play. They're just more comfortable grinding out possessions. So I figured at some point we'd get to a game like this. And obviously overtime helps.
Right. So as Burton might have told you in the last podcast, for any of you who didn't play it, he played it at a place called mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag. The reason he did is because they've been in business for years. They're reputable. Best of all, they pay out fast. And they're also going to give you money to bet with. If you put whatever you put into the account, say $50 into your account and use the promo code Bucher, Bucher, that's my name, they will instantly make it $75. You get a 50% bump on whatever you deposit all the way up to $1,000. So you put in $1,000, you have $1,500 to play with. And I hope that you took advantage of the last podcast and everything that Burton told you to do. If you didn't, that promo code still applies. You can still get after it, and we will be getting after it as the NBA playoffs begin. We'll be giving you some inside dope on where to go on that. It's mybookie, mybookie.ag. If you're going to put a couple bucks on a game, that's the ideal place to do it. And why not put a couple bucks on a game? Because it's so much more fun. Burton, I got to think. So where was there a point where you were thinking, uh-oh?
Good question, because Virginia loves to play these close games, right? Sorry about
there goes our clean rating. Actually, John Livy will bleep that out.
Yeah, please. I sweated a little bit. Culver made a move to his left and laid the ball in over Hunter, and all of a sudden Texas Tech had a 1-point lead. in regulation with about a minute left. And it's like, wow, this felt like Auburn all over again. Like, Virginia has this lead, and you feel comfortable, right? They're up 6 with a minute and a half left. You're like, oh, they got this. And it's college basketball. And, Jim Nantz said it. It was a heck of a tournament. Like, great tournament. These teams were tough. I sweated this one out. For sure. Even in overtime, already hit that 3. And it's like, wow, like these guys just
they wouldn't go away. Yep.
They wouldn't go away. But, I had, like I said, I didn't even mention, I put $1,000 on Virginia before the tournament started at a plus 350.
Yes.
So I won 3,500 there as well. And why I was confident in them, and I only bet one team. I bet Virginia. That's it. They're just so good in these tight situations. I mean, the margins for error is so slim, but you see how calm Jerome is, or Guy is, or Hunter is, or even their freshman Clark, that he doesn't get really rattled that often. So I felt confident. I don't want to go around saying like I could pick all of these games. They're hard. This is a hard tournament.
Well, you had a tough time. Night. You had a tough time when we got to the Final Four. That didn't quite turn out the way you had anticipated.
Yeah.
But, this is what I know about you, is that you know enough that eventually it's going to even out, and the homework that you've done throughout the year will pay off. I feel the same way when it comes to the NBA. You watch it all year, and you have a feel. You know how teams operate, particularly when it gets to the crunch.
Yeah, I talked to a scout, and he said to me, he's like, he covers the Big 12, the scout. And he was like, how do you know all these guys? And I'm like, man, like, I watched Texas Tech all year long. Like,
you and Culver's mom are the ones that watched all year long.
I know, right?
Will, your biggest observation from this game?
I have an interesting fact for you, for the both of you. Okay. So, the referee of the game, Michael Stevens, he's the only black ref. He was my very, very first football coach.
Really?
He was my flag football coach when I was 6 years old in Providence, Rhode Island.
Wait a minute. Is that the flag football coach that was giving you a hard time?
No, that was my Pop Warner coach.
Oh, okay.
He was a tough coach, though. He was a very, very tough coach.
Wow.
So my biggest observation was watching him up and down the court.
By the way, when did Gene Steratore become a basketball expert as well? Does that catch anybody by surprise initially? I mean, I think he was decent, but I knew Gene Steratore as an NFL ref.
No, so that's Gene's background. His background is basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he decided to do football.
What'd you think of him as an NFL ref?
I thought, he was totally cool, man. He always communicated. He gave me tons of warnings, which I appreciated.
Oh, so he was just one of those guys who would talk to you first. He wouldn't just hit you with the flag or whatever.
Yes, he would talk to us first. So I was going to say, too, because I spoke to him when I went to the broadcast boot camp. So his father was a college referee for years, too.
Got you. This is what I loved. I loved the index card in the Raiders game. When they were trying to determine whether it was a first down or not, and he slipped the. I absolutely love that. There's people who hated it. They thought, "What the hell's this?" I love that kind of creativity, Burton. I have to say that, and I wanted to we dialed everybody up, and we're recording this right after the game. You celebrated by going to get a couple of cough drops. What? I mean, was this kind of a standard success story for you? Is this run of the mill, or because I would think that everything that was going on, and especially just the excitement of the game, but it was so back and forth, and you had everything riding in one direction. I don't know. I would have thought there be a little more jubilation. Nothing.
Yeah, well, one, I didn't celebrate by getting cough drops. I got cough drops through your pod. And two, it's only midnight in New York City. The night is young.
Okay.
So I'm certain I will step out.
Okay.
And do a proper celebration in the West Village.
I feel better now. One of the reasons
I will tell you this: I will get involved in those NBA playoffs. That is for sure.
Good. Okay. a couple of things I was impressed with, and one of the reasons why I think that the offense opened up a bit is the three-point shooting was impressive, as was the free throw shooting. I can't remember the last time I saw two teams in a pressure back and forth game like that be as successful, as consistent at the free throw line. I mean, it's been a while. I've actually been, my son was asking me this the other day because he was looking at some of the percentages of these teams, and he's like, 73%, and he's the best free throw shooter on the team? Like, what's up?
Right, I saw that myself.
Right? But you wouldn't have known any of that by the way these guys performed in this game, and I feel as if the long-range shooting allowed to open up some of the drives. And it was also, the other thing that I noticed was this was very much, whether you want to attribute to the NBA or you want to take it was a Euro game, this was all drive and kick. If there was a post up, boy, it was in the mid-range and the guy would pivot and face up before he'd go. This was very much a modern version of basketball. And while everybody predicted that it was going to be an awful slugfest, I thought it ended up being a really entertaining game ultimately.
Yeah, Rick, I couldn't agree more. This was a great game. And, what I said to you about offensive skills, these kids are good. It's just the style that their coach decides to play. I mean, what a great play at the end when Ty Jerome goes straight to the rim at the end of regulation and kicks that ball to DeAndre Hunter instead of taking the layup. And, it's, like you said, it's today's modern game, right? Drive and kick and get that three. And obviously, kids shot it well tonight. That three-point line is obviously much closer than the NBA three-point line. And I do think he's going into this, I thought it was going to be a good game. I really, offensively, I didn't think it was going to be this. I also had this feeling, and I don't know, I maybe didn't track it as well while I was watching it. I had this feeling like the refs were going to call early on any type of grabbing or bumping on pin downs and guys trying to get loose early on. So, you can't just hold them and wrestle with them. Like Texas Tech, Michigan State felt like a wrestling match, right? Like, grabbing each other the whole time. And I feel like, I hate to speculate too much on this. I feel like, the NCAA and CBS and everybody involved in college basketball, they don't want to see that. They want to let them move a little bit. So maybe they knew to, let it, call those fouls early so that Kyle Guy can come off the screen clean.
It still amazes me, and I think I might have even texted you, DeAndre Hunter was struggling out of the gate, and he got fouled, and he made 2 free throws, and I just got the feeling like, okay, he's going to find it now. It was just the way that he shot them. And he took off.
He was so comfortable, right?
Yes, he took off after that. And this is what just I find fascinating. I mean, I've experienced it myself. I've certainly seen it countless times. How just the exercise of shooting a ball and seeing it go in the hoop can change everything. Even though you're standing still and nobody's guarding you, going through that motion and seeing the ball go in suddenly changes like, yes, that's it. And then the rest is history. And Hunter from that point on was just like, he couldn't wait to shoot. Contested shots, threes, you name it. He was taking the shots. It was amazing to see that transformation.
I'm still trying to figure out why did they collapse on Jerome when he was going for 2?
Well, not only that, but then when they left Hunter in the corner,
right,
and Clark is up top, and you can say all you want, Burton, because we went back on this. Clark did not want to shoot the ball, and look, I get it. I see the value in having one guy on the floor who maybe is just a facilitator, and that's certainly what he was. And you're right, he was calm, cool, and collected for a freshman. But there's certain times where you have to keep the defense honest. And if you pump fake and a guy goes by you and you have a mid-range, you either take the mid-range immediately or you take it all the way inside and draw that second defender. And he wasn't going to draw that second defender. There was just a couple times where I thought, dude, you have to shoot the ball. And I don't think it was by accident that he wasn't on the floor down the stretch in the final minute or two, because they knew it was going to be a back and forth game. Burton, you want to defend your boy or not?
Yeah, I mean, so I've watched Clark all year.
Okay.
And so I disagree with that he's scared to shoot it. I don't.
Why?
In that moment, though?
Why? He can be scared to shoot in this game, and not necessarily all year long. A final game, and I think probably, I don't know, Will, if you can speak to this or not, like playing in a Super Bowl, there's a different feeling about I could win it all. Like I'm in this game that some guys react to, some guys feed off of it, and some guys play it like it's a different game.
Some guys hope someone else makes the play.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been around a lot of All-Pros and Pro Bowls where, okay, the lights are on. I kind of hope someone else does it this time.
Yeah, no doubt. You can see it. You can see it. A guy's like out there, and he's got the face, and he's making, and you just go, that dude doesn't really want it. And on the other hand, like Mooney, and there was a couple guys with Texas Tech, like I felt for them because they like
Francis. My gosh,
they just want. Let's keep playing. I can't believe I'm not a loser. I'm not.
Run it back.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so Burton, You've watched him all year, though. Give me a defense of Mr. Clark.
So I'll say, yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying theoretically that this is a much brighter light than he's played in all year.
Theoretically, but I'm not buying it.
My assessment, a game in December in Charlottesville against, bad non-conference opponent, sure, he's willing to shoot that ball. Right. I don't, again, psychoanalysis, I don't see fear in the kid. I think he just knows his role, which is take the open shot when it's there. And he did. I mean, he only took 2 shots, but he made that 3-pointer early on. And, I don't disagree with you can't leave Hunter. If you're going to leave a kid open for 3, right, it's probably Clark, right? Sure. Like, why would you leave Hunter
for sure
there? I don't disagree with that. I do think that he was ready for the moment. I mean, again, there's no way to prove it. I think he played great tonight, especially for the role that he has.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing.
I like the guy.
Here's the other thing, is that as a freshman, and this is the championship game, for a freshman to defer in a game like this, I understand it. Especially if you've kind of been a facilitator all year long. I'm not looking I wasn't looking for Clark to make big plays. I wasn't looking for him. I actually thought Moretti tried to be a little too aggressive. There was one drive there at the end, after he hit the 3 that pulled him within 1. I thought he got just a little greedy where he went at a point where, dude, that's not your ideal game within the context of that team. And, ultimately didn't make it, and Virginia went the other way. And I can't remember what the score was, but the only other observation, and actually Will had it and pointed it out to me, is the referees and how demonstrative they were. I was actually going to make the same observation. They were like drill team crisp. It was
they're ready to go.
All of their signals and calls were
there was a charge
from the book.
Yeah, there was a charge Culver had, and the referee was so animated in that call. I mean, I hate to get on them. I hate college basketball referees. I feel like they dictate too much of the outcome with these like fouls.
Yeah.
But I thought tonight they were great.
Yeah, I didn't notice them other than that they were very, they were very mechanical and specific in all of their, in all of their calls. Before we let you go, this is what I'm just curious about for someone like you, Burton. There's a lot about you that I'm curious, and so this kind of feeds into it. So when you're watching a game like this, like I imagine, when there's multiple games going and you're watching multiple screens, that kind of keeps you occupied. But when you're watching one game like this and you have multiple wagers riding on it, like where are you sitting? Are you eating? Are you drinking? Are you superstitious? What's your methodology?
So definitely no drinking.
Okay.
So I'm in my apartment. I have 2 TVs, a desktop, a laptop, and obviously 2 smartphones.
Wait a minute. Do you have all those on?
No,
okay.
Not during this game. This specific game, no. You're right. When there are multiple games going on, I have multiple devices going. For this specific game, no drinking. Just in my living room with the TV on, sound on, no channel changing, no surfing whatsoever. At like 9:05, it's on channel 2 CBS, and that's it. I only pee during the media timeout. So I ate beforehand.
Only during the media timeouts, not the team timeouts.
Yeah.
You want to be watching the huddle.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, again, no switching the channel, none of that. Too much was on this one. And, I'm watching every play, listening to the play-by-play and the color and very intently. I even am not really – I text you a lot more on Saturday than I did this one because I was focused in on this one.
And how many people are you texting? Am I the only one you were texting, or was anybody else on your text?
There is
circle?
A very close friend of mine, a woman who works for Beats by Dre, who I did her bracket for her. And in order for her to win, Virginia had to win. She would finish second. If they didn't win, she'd finish first if Virginia wins.
Nice.
Won. So she started texting me in the second half. I hit her up early in the morning, yo, make sure you're watching UVA tonight. And she started texting me in the second half. So I was responding to her. But, yeah, that's it. I'm pretty focused in. I don't even eat or snack during this. I'm literally just watching it.
Friends with benefits?
No ballbacks. Maybe one day. I mean, she's drop dead gorgeous, Rick. Drop dead gorgeous. Maybe one day. But only friends currently. I mean, me helping her win some money probably doesn't hurt.
I would think.
Yeah. And she's got a little more than money. She's got a little pride and ego. It's she's excited about walking into an office, where she predominantly
male dominated.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a 50-person pool. For her to win the pool, she's pretty excited about that.
Nice. All right, Burton.
Will, next year I'll help you with your pool.
Appreciate it. I need it.
There you go.
I'm gonna stop betting next year. So here we go.
All right. I love it.
My bookie, let's go.
MyBookie.ag. We're all going to be on the hook. Everybody use that promo code.
We're all in.
There we go. All right, Burton. Thank you very much. We will circle back to you at some point, get in on the NBA action. But in the meantime, thank you for all of your insight when it came to the tournament and really into your life,
course,
and
Rick,
how and what life is like
it's
for
great
you.
Timing. One shining moment just started.
I'm going to let you go enjoy that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Burton. All right. That was Burton Chawla. He's now, he's not, you know what? He's turning the TV off. He's out on the town right now.
Yeah, I guess so.
The dude scored big time. And I would win it.
What he win?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, he won. I'm guessing he cleared at least 10 large on this game. All the bets combined. I would think, yeah, because he had, it's got to be. When I think of everything that he had going, including the 350 for Virginia. I mean, that's a payout of $350 for every $100 you bet, and he bet 1,000. So that's $3,500 right there. And then, what did he say he had rent? And then he ran $3,500 on. He took all his winnings from the tournament up until the final game, and he put all that out there. So he did quite all right. Okay.
Really quick.
Yes.
Let's end with this.
Oh, we're not ending yet.
We're not ending?
No, we have one other story we have to hit, which is Aaron Rodgers' response.
Yes, that's what I want. Exactly.
Yes.
He fires back.
Yes, he fires back.
Okay.
Fired back without. He said, all I remember reading the story of his radio interview where he said, and I have another central thesis point to make. And I was like, oh, he's pulling out.
Yeah.
He's going all in. So
he said, I love Mike McCarthy. He said, Mike has been a huge part of my success. He knows that.
Yeah. He made a lot of fair points. And this is actually something that you and I talked about on the podcast yesterday, which is that it could be a couple disgruntled guys, and that this is the difficulty in writing about any sort of turmoil within a team in the NFL, is that among 50-some guys, you're going to find guys who are disgruntled with some other guy. It's bound to happen, especially if you're going to go as far as former teammates. So it's interesting how everybody bought into the narrative. And I'm not casting aspersions on the writer and the story as far as that there was no truth to it. I'm sure there are some elements in there that are accurate. The thing about Aaron that interests me, and we've seen it with a lot of other guys. I mean, I could see where Aaron's not everybody's cup of tea. He's very much first of all, he's got as much swagger as any player I've seen. The confidence that he exudes, I'm sure, is a huge positive for his team. And I'm sure there's some guys that if it's not rolling their way, even if you're a teammate, that can rub you the wrong way. I mean, there's personality clashes, and I think he has a big personality.
Well, where you said in terms of like there is some truth, like the massage story, the Mike McCarthy getting a massage, like I'm still curious, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Now, the only logic I can think of in terms of that story being true is Fridays, wherever I played, every team I played on, Fridays, they would bring massage therapists to the facility or if we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a short day. And when the day's over, you can go ahead and hit the sign-up sheet. Players get massages, coaches get massages, everyone gets massages. So maybe there was a case where, hey, you guys take the meeting. Because Fridays, too, usually the players go ahead and have their own meetings on Fridays, too. Just, hey, this is our time to watch film as a unit. And the coaches do whatever, So I don't think it was a case where it was like a Wednesday, which is a huge installation day, and Mike left to get a massage. Like, I do not believe that. The one thing I know playing for Coach McCarthy is that he had a lot of integrity, man, and I don't think he would have did something stupid like that.
Right.
However, the one thing that really stood out to me about this article is, when he really was mentioning, oh yeah, you already know, when he mentioned Greg Jennings and Jermichael Finley. Yeah. He said, if it's not an article about me, do you ever hear their names anywhere else?
Yeah.
He said, you talk about me being sensitive and petty. At what point do you move on and stop telling the same old stories?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure that the relationship between Rodgers and Mike McCarthy was not always perfect. I'm sure that they had their differences and that they had their issues with each other. I have no doubt about that. That said, that it would be as divisive as it was suggested, I don't know that you stay together as long as they have, or that they have the success that they've had. And one, you stay together that long, I don't know that your relationship isn't going to be tested. You're not going to get tired of each other at times. But on the other hand, look, if Rodgers really wanted to go or he really wanted Mike McCarthy out, my feeling is one of those two things could have easily happened. Now, one of the things he said, and this has really kind of pushed things open, which last season after they beat the Bills 22-0, Rodgers was critical of the game plan. And he says that, he wished he hadn't said anything in hindsight, and that he had just said something to McCarthy directly, and he said he wasn't trying to be disrespectful, and that's what he told him when they met face to face. I mean, this is where it gets tricky for me, Will, because if you do go out and you do say something that creates tension or creates speculation, guys take the attitude, I don't want to serve that story. I don't want to feed that story by denying it or addressing it or doing any of those things. And I think sometimes guys do themselves a disservice by just trying to be that, highfalutin, that sort of above the media and their response. If you
almost like their opinion has power.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, you mean the media's opinion. You don't want to validate their criticism. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying in terms of like guys speaking out who have been there.
Yeah. Well, my thing is simply when you say something like that and it's interpreted as a shot at Mike McCarthy and you never address it, or you never say, hey, I went and talked to him face to face. You know, that you recognize, hey, I wish I hadn't said that. That now you're feeding the beast in a negative way. You're feeding the narrative. You're allowing it to continue. And I feel as if sometimes guys do that with the idea that, I'm above it. I'm not going. The media's making a deal out of it, and I am not going to allow them to see that it was an issue or it was an element. And I think in cases like that, it does not serve their best purposes. That I don't want it. Honestly, I believe him in what he said, but I don't need to hear it now. Now it hears like it's a defense of this story, as opposed to doing it before there was a story where you had to defend your relationship with Mike McCarthy, if that makes sense.
Well, here's the thing too, is not, I think it was important for him to say something now too, because people are now, on some networks, they were saying that Aaron Rodgers is toxic. They were talking about him as a person. Yeah, talking about him as a person, about his character. Yeah. Some other players are saying the toxicity around him or what have you, and how this is how he is. He has an ego, or he's like this, and people just kept talking bad about the dude. And it's just like, okay, now let me say something, because these stories are getting out of control, their lies and what have you. Like you said in the beginning, was there conflict? Absolutely, there's conflict everywhere. I seen Coach McCarthy have conflict with Brett Favre when things didn't go right. I seen Eli get chewed out by Coughlin. Right. I seen all kinds of. I seen everything. And that just happens because, first of all, we are all adults.
Right.
And well, as you said, we are in a high pressure situation, and when things aren't going well, guys are going to address it, and that's just what happens.
I experienced this very same thing talking to Blake Griffin last week about his relationship with Chris Paul, and from the outside, people saw their interactions and thought there was friction there. And there was, but it wasn't the friction that people thought. It wasn't the misunderstanding that people thought it was. And if you want to know more about that, my story will be coming out on Bleacher Report in the next week, which he goes into great detail. He goes into great detail about that. He goes into great detail about the equipment manager that he punched and what led to that. He was very.
I need to read that. Wow, who punches the equipment manager?
Well, and
he had outrageous.
And why? You will find out all of that. But this is what I appreciate is that in our podcast, when we talked about this in the very previous podcast, you were the one who just spoke from your experience, and I feel as if we foreshadowed this story coming out from Aaron in terms of their relationship and where the source of the story might come from and how such a story could exist and what your experience was, which was you didn't see anything that came close to this.
Well, anything in terms of where it became totally detrimental to what was going on in that organization. Yeah. McCarthy not being the head coach anymore. It was just a matter of, time has ran its course. And, the only thing, it's just annoying how, another colleague can come out and say things about another colleague. I know that's just what it is. That's what's life. When I decided to, join the media, the first thing I was asked, I was asked by James Brown, legendary analyst, was on CBS, and he asked me, will you be willing to criticize the guys you played with?
Yeah.
Your own colleagues in the NFL. And I was like, yeah, I'll be able to criticize them without assassinating their character.
I'm glad you made that point, because that's what happens all too often is that somebody doesn't play well or somebody doesn't get along with somebody else or there's friction on a team, and now it's a reflection of who they are as a person, as opposed to the challenge of people trying to work together in a very high-pressure, competitive environment.
Because what I would do is, go ahead, and I'm sorry, Rick.
Yeah, no, and that's there's that distinction. But look, I get it, because people get excited. For whatever reason, people enjoy. You see it on Twitter every day. People don't want to say you're wrong. They want to say you're stupid. They want to say you don't have, you shouldn't be allowed to talk. Go delete your account.
I seen a player called Antonio Brown a jackass. I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
Like, okay, AB could be going through some stuff and feeling type of a way, but come on, man, like, is that necessary?
Yeah. No,
it's not necessary. And I would never, like, if someone did not play well, I would always try to put myself in their shoes and see like their perspective. If they had a bad play, say someone got beat for a touchdown, I'm not gonna be like, oh man, he's horrible, he stinks, he can't play ball. I'll be like, man, he should have made that play. Here's probably why he didn't. Oh, he's struggling. He struggles on this. He didn't. There was a player on the Texans. He got beat with a double move 1 week in the red zone, and then got the very next week with the same move. And I'm like, okay, there's a problem. He's not going back he's not watching film.
Right.
Because if he was watching film, that wouldn't have happened to him twice.
Right.
I'm not going to be like, he's a bum. He shouldn't have been out there. He's terrible. He's trash. I would never do that.
All right. I think that does it for this episode of Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast Network. By the way, Burton was watching One Shining Moment, and he texted me. He said, I'm so corny. I started shedding tears.
My gosh.
He is one piece of work. All right. Don't forget, we would appreciate if you gave us a review. And it's great if you tell us exactly what you like or don't like about the show. But if you just want to hit the stars, however many stars you want to give us, that's fine. And then if you want something from us, just screenshot that review and tweet it to @BucherFriends, and you'll be eligible to win some prizes. In the next podcast, I caught up with Steven Jackson. And Jack was telling me about how when he travels, he likes to take edibles to make the flight easier. And as it turns out, he now provides edibles for the entire first class section on the plane whenever he flies. And hijinks ensue. You want to hear this? It's one of the funnier podcasts that
you can get on the plane with edibles.
You can get on the plane with edibles, and you can distribute them to your neighbors. And which is exactly what he did. And we also we got into some heavier subjects actually as well. So there's a little of both. There's a little of there's gravity and hilarity both in the next podcast. So wait for that. In the meantime, as always, thanks for listening.